She gonna love you and nurture you when you need it. She gonna kick you in your ass when you ain't doing what you're supposed to do. And she gonna push you to go get that bag when it's time to get that money. This is the mama that all children in the world need. We all need a Momma Dee. Momma Dee is a real one. You know, one thing about her, people say what they want to say about Momma Dee, but Momma Dee ain't really no side picker. Momma Dee really goes for. You know what your problem is? I ain't got no problem. I'll beat your ass. You had a million times to do
it. The city, which had become the beating heart of hip-hop, was bathed in a golden glow as the sun set over the streets of Atlanta. However, behind the scenes of the constantly on-guard cameras and the flashing lights of Love and Hip-Hop Atlanta, something very personal was happening. He was still high from the release of his diss track directed at Lil Scrappy, and he was at the center of the storm. His feud with Scrappy had gotten out of hand, and the streets and social media were in a state of sudden vulnerability. Chaos pulled up to a local restaurant on a calm afternoon, and he got out of his car with his typical swagger, muffled by the tension that had been building around him. He was prepared for whatever the world had in store for him next, but what he didn't anticipate was a visit from someone who had been Scrappy's mother figure for as long as he could remember. Momma Dee commanded the space as she stood outside the restaurant, but there was a serious look on her face that the mother who had once been a staunch protector of her son was now standing in front of him in a way that was entirely unfamiliar to him. Khaotic had never seen the queen of Atlanta hip-hop royalty before. The purpose of Momma Dee's presence was to plead, not to fight, to defend her son, or to argue. He had never been one to back down, and he certainly wasn't about to let the mom who had always supported her son down. Khaotic lifted an eyebrow, wondering what this was about. His arms tensed at his sides, still carrying the anger from their recent fallout. Tell them how to feel, but Momma Dee wasn't asking for a fight. She was asking for something much more difficult. As she approached, Cass noticed that her demeanor had changed. Instead of the fierce, unapologetic mad he had seen on TV and in the streets, there was a rawness in her eyes and an almost maternal sadness that caused him to pause and take a deep breath. Her voice was steady but filled with emotion. I know that things got out of control, and I know that my son has a lot of pride, but I'm here today to apologize to you on his behalf. Wounded you, and I can see how badly this has affected you. I've been a mother my entire life, and I know that when my child makes a mistake, he has to correct it. Chaos as Momma Dee went on. The rage that had been building inside of him started to subside and be replaced by something else. I know I'm not the one you're mad at, Mama. His jaw tightened, his heart still raw from the diss track he had dropped days earlier. He had been fighting not only for respect, but also for acknowledgement that he too had worked hard for his place in the game. Dee's voice cracked a little as she spoke. I understand that you feel deceived, but I beg you to listen to my son. He is sometimes too proud to listen to me, but I'm pleading with you to forgive him. He had never seen Momma Dee look like she was more than just a reality TV star. Instead, she was a mother begging for her son's salvation as she looked down at the ground. Cass stood motionless, watching her speak. There was a weight to her words, a sincerity that cut through the layers of bravado and hurt that had accumulated between them. Khaotic was able to see the tears. With tears in her eyes, she wasn't requesting that he simply forgive and forget what had happened. Rather, she was requesting that he give Scrappy another chance to put things right and for them to move past the breach that had ripped between their once bonding paths. Chaos inhaled deeply, the rage gradually fading. It was difficult to remain angry when someone was so exposed and vulnerable, and despite his desire to maintain his dignity, something inside of him softened. Prepared to let go of everything, he nodded slowly as the moment's weight settled on his shoulders, but not yet. He recognized humanity in Momma Dee's plea, and for the first time, he had a glimpse of the woman behind the TV persona, a mother who loved her son and a woman who understood the price of pride. He continued in a softer voice, I'll give it some thought, but I can't promise anything. Mavy's eyes glistened as she silently expressed her gratitude, not for forgiveness, but for the opportunity to put things right, for Scrappy's struggles. She muttered, "You Khaotic, you have no idea what this means to me." With that, the moment passed, and he started to leave, but something inside of him changed. Perhaps this wasn't just about a battle. Perhaps it was about understanding.
Khaotic. We're getting somewhere. We're not. Because I can give a. Because let me tell you something. When a go with me, and he feel like I'm not a good person, I feel the same way he has. So we on the same page.
No, but he does not feel that.
He just said it. He said, hey, if you feel like I'm not a good person in your life, then you need to stay like that and don't stand on that. And we don't stand on it.
No.
Let's stand on it. He don't stand on it.
No, he said not. He did not say that.
What I said was, if you feel like I'm a bad person to you, then
It's not about that right now. This is about you. How do you feel about him?
I never said I had a problem with him.
No, this what he do. He say something crazy and he's like, oh, I ain't got no beef, I ain't got no gun.
Khaotic always trying to play a victim. He'll start, then he want to be like, I don't want no beef, man. If you got an issue, stand on it. If not, sit down and shut up, bro. At the end of the day, like I said, bro, it don't even really matter.
We're gonna try to goddamn. He want everybody like,
oh my God.
No, because we're so grown, we're making a assessment of our own thoughts here.
I be watching good. I be like, oh.
Okay, so wait.
You know what your problem is? I ain't got no problem. I'll beat your ass. You had a million times to do it.
Keep talking that boy.
His career and family relationships. But nothing could have predicted the day when Scrappy's own behavior would cause him to fall from grace. It all began with a particularly heated argument with a cast member named Khaotic, who was known for his brash attitude and willingness to stir things up. Gotten into trouble with Scrappy over a minor issue that swiftly got out of hand. Words were exchanged, insults were thrown, and what began as a disagreement quickly turned into a full-fledged altercation. Scrappy, who was always known for having a short fuse, was at his breaking point as the tension increased. The two men exchanged abrasive words, but Scrappy's threat was what? The producers and crew who had been present during the scene were shocked that this wasn't just another heated argument. This was a man who had crossed the line. He threatened chaos in a way that went beyond simple words. His tone was menacing, and the words themselves left little room for interpretation. This would ultimately seal his fate in a moment of rage.
Oh, he the one who called me out my name, disrespecting me, talking gangster. I never talked gangster. I never threatened you. I don't play no victim. I just don't do all that fake gangster talking and all that. You can't let me talk gangster. First of all, if I say anything slick or say anything crazy out my mouth, I got the right to anyway.